Hi everyone. I hope you are having or have had a great long weekend. So if you've had questions, if you had trouble, please email me. I will be available through email. So let's get started on this week's lab. This week's lab is dealing with plants and some plant behaviors. So you should be talking about this in lecture, but if you haven't, we're going to start with just some plant behaviors. So just like we have a circadian rhythm or biological clock, these plants also have that. There are some plants that actually bloom during the day and close up at night. So morning glories in particular, pretty much named because they open up in the morning and they close up at night. And they do this based on a day-night cycle. A circadian rhythm is a period of about 24 hours, and you can see from the graph at the bottom, the flowers are closed, the flowers open when it's daylight, the flowers close, and it's pretty much based on a time cycle. We call this photoperiodism, and that's any physiological response prompted by changes in day or night length. And photoperiodism influences flowering in some plants. So this is not a 24-hour period. This is looking at seasons. Photoperiodism requires a participation of a biological clock, which we talked about, and a plant photoreceptor called phytochrome. So phytochrome is a blue-green leaf pigment that is found in two different forms. Phytochrome red, PR, is inactive, and phytochrome far red is PFR. Now these are blue-green leaf pigments, but we call them phytochrome R and phytochrome FR. And the conversion between the two, so it's one pigment in two different modes. I'm going to show you a picture of this in a second. But converting from one inactive state to an active state and back to inactive state allows a plant to detect photoperiod changes. So they can sense light and dark. They don't have eyes, but they can sense it with this pigment. It can also promote seed germination and stop stem elongation. So here we have the inactive form PR. Okay. In this case, the light-sensitive region is found down here. And the active form, PFR, is found over here. So what happens is these move. Okay. The PR absorbs red light at 660 nanometers. So that's wavelengths of light. And then the PFR absorbs at about 730 nanometers. So during the day, it works as this PFR, and then at night it folds up and becomes this PR. And when the light changes again and you've got daylight, changes back into PFR. And that way it can sense whether it's light or day. Here we have normal growth plant, and here we have where the shoots have been elongated. That's an experiment that was done to control the shoots by changing the phytochrome. Now, this is what you're going to be looking at in your homework. You're going to have a graph, an interactive graph. You can look at the very top, there's a tab. You can look at latitude and daylight. And on the second tab, you can look at short day plants and long day plants. So short day plants flower when the day length is shorter than a critical length. Long day plants flower when the day length is longer than a critical length. Now, and day neutral, forgot about those. They're not dependent on day length for flowering. They just flower seasonally whenever. Some plants may require a specific sequence of day lengths in order to flower. So they may need several of the same type days in a row. So here we have a short day plant, and here we have a long day plant. Now, what they're actually using to determine when to flower is the amount of nighttime. So there's a critical length of nighttime. These guys, the short day or long night, need a critical amount of darkness. Okay, so they need an extended period of darkness. If there's not enough darkness, so like in the summer, these are not going to flower. This is long enough, they flower. Too short of a night, too long of a day, not going to flower. The interesting part is in the lab, if you give them daylight, but a long night, and you just interrupt it with a little flash of daylight, they still won't flower. That night has been broken up too much. With a long day, short night plant, they flower when the night is short and the day is longer than this critical length. If the night is too long, day is too short, they will not flower. Okay? If you flash light in a lab setting in between the night, they will still flower because they've got a short night, they think it's daylight, and another short night. So it's really depending on the amount of darkness. And then your simulation is going to deal with transpiration, which is a combination of cohesion and adhesion. So adhesion is where water molecules cling to the sides of the vessels and the stems. Cohesion is where water clings together. So what's happening here, water is entering the roots, and each water molecule is clinging together. Okay, water likes to stay together. So have you ever put 2 drops of water really, really, really close together? They kind of act like magnets and turn into one big drop. That is cohesion. And so water's traveling up and they're clinging together like they're holding hands. But they also like to get stuck on things. So if you've ever taken a straw and that one drop just kind of clings to dear life at the bottom of the straw before letting go, that's adhesion. Okay, so cohesion and adhesion. So it's traveling from the roots up the trunk through the xylem vessels, up into the leaves, and water evaporates from the leaf. So water is nourishing the cells all along the way, but some water actually evaporates from the leaf. So here is a leaf. Okay, we're looking at a zoomed in part of the leaf. This is the top of the leaf. There's a cuticle, which is a waxy coating. There's the upper epidermis, mesophils. These are the vessels, basically the veins of a leaf. And they transport food and water. And then at the bottom of the leaf, there are these little holes called stoma or stomata, plural. And each hole is guarded by guard cells. So these guard cells close, stop up the hole in order to prevent water loss. And they can open up to let water evaporate out. Now, this is also, more critically, where oxygen and carbon dioxide are being exchanged. Oxygen leaves the leaf, carbon dioxide comes into the leaf. Now, plants don't want to lose a whole bunch of water, especially desert plants. They want to hold on to their water. So, let's see. Said stomata, stomata's plural. Why don't you think these holes are on the top? Instead, you have a waxy coating on the top. Have you ever put wax on something, or Vaseline or anything like that? Have you thought about what that does with water? So the waxy coating on top helps prevent water loss on the top. It's a wax or an oil. It's not going to mix with water, so it's preventing water loss from the top of the leaf. The shady bottom of the leaf is a little bit cooler. It's shaded, so it's on the underside. And that allows gas exchange, but you're not going to lose as much water. So there's no waxy coating on the bottom of the leaf because that's where they need to have those holes open and exchange gases. So those are on the bottom of the leaf. If you had them on the top of the leaf, all the water would just evaporate out of the plant and you'd end up with a wilted plant. So you have that waxy coating on the top to prevent water loss, but not on the bottom because you still need those stoma or stomata, stoma singular, stomata plural, to be able to breathe. So that is pretty much the end of that. What you'll be doing is looking at stomata in different types of plants. You're going to look at some tropical plants, some desert plants, that kind of thing. And then you will have your lab quiz. For your poll point this week, I know I said email it to me, but I got to thinking about it. It'd be better if you did it in a discussion. It'd just be easier to have it all together. So, under the discussion tab, you will find a new discussion board. And the poll question is, would you be a short day plant or a long day plant? So a short day plant would bloom when the night is long, so a night owl. Or a long day plant would mean you bloom when the day is longer. You're more of an early bird or morning person. Get things done during the day. That's me. I am not a night person. I am most definitely a long day person. I love summer. I can stay up later because the sun is out. As soon as the sun goes down, I start falling asleep. So I would definitely be a long day plant. So what would you be? So if you go under to the discussion tab, you can post your response there. And then that way everybody can see how many night owls we have and how many morning people we have. So that is all I have for you guys this week. Remember, this will be due Sunday night, 11:59 p.m. And then we will meet the following week for Lab 4. Again, if you have any questions, email me. I'm happy to set up a Zoom. But you can always just email me if you have questions. So, again, I hope you had a great weekend. Hope you had a great day. And I will see you next time.